It's time for Lubbock businesses to reopen, but what exactly should that look like and what will it look like once it actually happens? Hey everyone, I'm Chad Hasty, host of the Chad Hasty Show, which airs weekday mornings 8:30 to 11 a.m. Central Time on News Talk 95.1 FM and 790 AM KFYO. As you probably know, Lubbock Mayor Dan Pope has created a task force to study how to reopen Lubbock. Councilman Steve Massengale is one of the co-chairs of that task force, and he's said in a couple of different interviews that the task force will begin meeting today, Monday, and make recommendations as soon as the end of this month, maybe not until May 4th. That to me is not exactly optimal at all. It's time to go ahead and reopen Lubbock, and we can do so in ways that ensure public health, public safety, and economic opportunity for our citizens. Now, over the weekend, I teased a little bit on the old Twitter machine that I would lay out my plan, just a few ideas from me on how to reopen Lubbock. It didn't take me a couple of weeks meeting over Zoom with a whole bunch of task force members. I spoke to different business owners in town and also took a look at the steps that were produced by President Trump and his health advisors, Dr. Fauci and Dr. Birx, that were laid out this past week. Now, let's go back to those real quick before I get into what my plans are for Lubbock and how Lubbock can reopen. If you look at phase one of the reopening of your state, the state of Texas, opening of Lubbock. In phase one, all vulnerable individuals should continue to shelter in place. Members of households with vulnerable residents should be aware that by returning to work or other environments where distancing is not practical, they could carry the virus back home. Precautions should be taken to isolate from these vulnerable residents. All individuals, when in public, that means parks, outdoor recreation areas, shopping areas, should maximize physical distance from others. Social settings of more than 10 people, where appropriate distancing may not be practical, should be avoided unless precautionary measures are observed. Avoid socializing in groups of more than 10 people in circumstances that do not readily allow for appropriate physical distancing, like receptions, conventions, stuff like that. And also, they say to minimize essential travel and to adhere to CDC guidelines during the isolation following travel. Now, also in phase one, they tell employers to continue to encourage telework by telling people if they want to work from home, if you're able to work from home, continue to work from home. Whenever possible and feasible, continue to do it. If possible, return to work in phases. Close common areas where personnel are likely to congregate and interact, or enforce strict social distancing protocols. Minimize non-essential travel and adhere to CDC guidelines regarding the isolation following travel, and strongly consider special accommodations for personnel who are members of the vulnerable population. Now, here's what they also say in phase one, and we're basing off of this by phase one because all states and I think counties and cities are going to go by these phases that were set out by the federal government. Schools and youth activities that are currently closed will remain closed. We know that. Visits to senior living facilities and hospitals should be prohibited. We know that. Large venues like sit-down dining, movie theaters, sporting venues, places of worship can operate under strict physical distancing protocols. Elective surgeries can resume as clinically appropriate on an outpatient basis at facilities that adhere to the guidelines. Gyms can reopen. Strict physical distancing is encouraged, and bars remain closed in phase one. Now, what they determine as a bar, I'm not exactly sure. It doesn't really give the definition here. There are some bars that only have a bar that you can sit at, and then there are some bars that also serve food and have tables that you can set out, and you can pretty easily social distance yourself at those bars. So I would say those would be able to reopen in phase one, but some members of the Lubbock City Council may disagree with me on that. So given that, and that's just phase one, you can go to the government's website and you can see all the phases. But having said and gone through phase one, it gives us a pretty clear structure as to what we can and can't do immediately in Lubbock, Texas. Does that mean we can pack Jones Stadium? Absolutely not. Not during phase one. Does it mean restaurants can reopen? Yeah, as long as you enforce social distancing and maybe the restaurants, have a lower capacity, maybe a capacity at about 20 to 25%, and, you roll that number up during the 14-day period. So having said all of that, again, those who are 60 years old and older, those who have a compromised immune system, those who maybe don't feel like they're able to go to work because they're worried about catching the coronavirus. Again, for those who are so worried and those who are in the high risk pool, stay home. Keep doing what you have been doing. This is not a hard process. A lot of this is going to come down to personal responsibility from the business side and also from you. If you are somebody who has a compromised immune system, if you are over the age of 65, if you are a high-risk individual, you're going to have to decide whether or not you go out and do things. You're going to have to decide whether or not you go to the grocery store. You're going to have to decide whether or not you go to a restaurant. You're going to have to balance the risk versus the reward of what you do. Life has inherent risk. We know this. If you're driving down the road and you go through an intersection in Lubbock, Texas, if you don't look both ways and you just keep going, there's always a possibility that someone's going to blow through the red light and smack you. We don't hold employers responsible when an employee is on their way to work. There's inherent risk in life. Having said that, we should also take steps to continue to preserve life. Obviously, here in Lubbock, we don't want anybody to get sick. We don't want anybody to die. Those of you out there who think that business owners are evil and mean, and those people like me who want the economy to get going again are evil and mean. We just want everybody to get sick. You're off your rocker. You're crazy. We want the economy to get going again because a healthy economy will have healthy citizens. An economy that is just decimated can lead to really, really bad things in the future, including mental illness, suicides, bankruptcies, all of that, and it just compounds, and it's not good at all. We've got to get Lubbock working again. So here's my plan. Two plans, actually, to get the Lubbock economy reopened. Plan A, I guess you could call it the first plan. It's real simple. Just open. Just absolutely open. Go by what the President of the United States says. Start with phase one and everybody reopen. At least everybody who under phase one can reopen. Just open. You don't have to have a task force. You don't have to have phases. You don't have to, tell hair salons and barbers you can't open yet. But these stores over here you can open. That makes no sense at all. Just open. That's all you got to do. Just absolutely open. Personal responsibility and the responsibility of business owners come into play here. And yes, continue to test and continue to bring in ventilators and everything else for the healthcare providers. Now, I know there are a lot of you out there who said, Chad, that's just not practical. You got to have a plan. You have to have a plan that is written down. And luckily for you, I've actually done that. I've come up with a plan without a task force, but again, speaking to different business owners out there about a plan of reopening. And here's what my plan basically comes down to. I break it down into a few different slots here. But basically, we should take into account the Opening Up America Again plan that I just told you about from President Trump. And what the city of Lubbock should do immediately is tell small businesses it's time to open up. We don't need to do this in phases. There's no reason to do this in phases. There's no reason to have, jewelry stores open up on day one and barbers open up on day 20. There's no reason for that. Both business owners have suffered enough already, but there are steps business owners can take to promote hygiene and to promote wellness inside their businesses. And here's what that would look like. So for small retail businesses, you take the model that we've seen up in Amarillo and you apply it here. In phase one of the president's guidelines, they say no more than 10 people in a space at any one time. Guess what? You put that towards retail. No more than 10 people inside your small retail stores at one time. Social distancing is encouraged and mandated. Wipe down points of contact. Make sure everything is sanitized and everything else. Encourage the use of hand sanitizer and wipes. And retailers should also know that there's going to be a portion of the population in Lubbock and throughout the rest of Texas and throughout the United States that's just not going to feel comfortable walking into your store. So continue to do curbside. Continue to make private appointments if you want to do that. Some of the different ways of doing business that you've already adopted, businesses should continue to do that. Those who have workers who are over the age of 65, give them a little bit more leniency here. We know that those who are in the high-risk pool should probably continue to stay home, and that should happen during phase one. I want to address this early here in this video, and that is face coverings, mask. Lubbock Mayor Dan Pope on KFYO about 12 days ago said that he would not mandate, and the Lubbock City Council would not mandate face coverings for Lubbock citizens. He said, we're not in the business of mandating things. They are, but they're not. Councilman Randy Christian put out a video a couple of weeks ago saying that everyone does need to wear a mask. And Councilman Steve Massengale, who is co-chairing this task force that is out there, has said that he envisions people wearing a face mask. This is a bad idea. Face mask, if you want to wear one, fine, but not every business owner is comfortable with a whole lot of people coming into their businesses with a face cover on. Imagine you have a bank. Imagine you have a jewelry store. Imagine that you have any other type of business where you have goods and a cash register that's kind of out in the open, if you will. A year ago, if somebody would have walked into your business with a face covering on and a hat, you probably would have been a little weary of that person walking into your store. Guess what? If the city of Lubbock tells everyone they have to wear a face mask, then everyone kind of becomes a suspect, if you will. Everyone's going to be watched really closely, and I think there are going to be a lot of business owners who are just not completely comfortable with every single person wearing a face mask. One, you wear the face mask and a hat, the cameras really don't do a lot of good. Two, criminals will use this against us. I know that I'm sure that Randy Christian and even Steve Massengale are thinking about the health of the citizens, but also think about the flip side. Would they want people in their business all the time wearing face coverings and hats and obstructing the view of the face? Have they thought about the criminal element that will use this against businesses? I'm just saying, I think that we will see an increase in crime if we force all citizens to wear face coverings. We've got to be very careful with this. And that is why Lubbock should tell business owners, if you want to allow face mask, put a note on the door. We allow face mask. If you want to mandate that anyone entering your store wears a face mask, put that on the door. To enter this establishment, you must cover your face. Or if you want to put on your door, we don't want you to wear a face mask, put that on the door and let people decide what they want to do. Again, if a business doesn't want to allow people with face masks on, or coming in their stores, then that person can order curbside or make an appointment or do something else. Leave it up to the business owners to decide what is right for their store in their location. We've already heard from different populations in America who say, no, wearing a face covering is a bad idea. It makes me a suspect. We don't need to make people suspects. We don't need to make people seem as though they're the bad guy just because they're looking out for their health. Let businesses decide and let people decide what they want to do. When it comes to big box retail like Kohl's and Dillard's, they should take the exact same steps that places like Home Depot and Lowe's have taken when reopening. They should be able to reopen immediately. Sales forces should be brought back. People should be rehired at these businesses. Same thing for restaurants. Restaurants should be allowed to reopen like that. Allow people to be rehired, maybe take out some tables if you want to do that, reduce the seating capacity at restaurants, encourage servers to wear masks if they want to wear masks, or if you want them to wear masks, encourage the servers if they want to wear gloves to have them wear gloves if you're that worried about it, coming from the restaurant angle. Also, restaurants that have awesome patios, make sure people go outside and enjoy a nice evening out on the patio. We can do this in a responsible way that opens up the economy and also allows for people to protect their health. Again, encourage hand sanitation, encourage people to wash their hands. If you go out to a restaurant, take some hand sanitizer with you. One thing that we did, we bought a box of the Lysol wipes. Take those with you. When you sit down, wipe down your table, wipe down your chair, and you should be good to go. But again, during phase one of this, restaurants should cut down on their capacity inside the restaurant. It would also be a good idea for many restaurants to start taking reservations or even to use an app. And I know Walk-Ons does this and a few other restaurants do, where the app actually alerts you 20 minutes before your table is ready that your table is going to be ready in 20 minutes. That way you can either wait from home or you can wait out in your car or you can wait somewhere else and then go to the restaurant instead of everyone just clogging up the entrance of the restaurant. I don't think anybody wants that right now. Something that we should also look for, and this is for the entire state. Governor Abbott, don't get rid of the alcohol delivery and curbside pickup of alcohol. Allow restaurants to continue to sell margaritas and beer and wine and whatever else as far as liquor is concerned to go. Allow them to keep doing it. We've survived as a state so far, allowing restaurants to do it. I think it's a great thing to keep doing it. And during the next legislative session for lawmakers to preserve that into law. Now, one area that the city is very concerned about and that a lot of people are concerned about, what do you do about barbers? What do you do about hair salons, nail salons, massage therapists? What do you do about all of those areas? Well, face it, folks. If you're going to be getting a haircut, you're going to get your nails done, you're going to, get a massage, people are going to be touching you. Sorry. There's no other way around it. People are going to be touching you. This is where personal responsibility kicks in the most. You have to decide, is it worth it to get my hair cut? Looking at my hair right now, it's absolutely worth it to get my hair cut. I really need a haircut. And I would take the chances because hair salons, barbers, they're already thinking about what they're going to do. In fact, hair salons, barbers, they can space out their chairs. They can also sanitize the chair, after each person leaves. They can space out how many people are waiting or just allow appointments only inside their stores. They can also wear masks and they can wear gloves if they decide to do so. Tattoo shops can ask artists to wear gloves. They can ask their artists to wear a mask. But guess what? If you're getting a tattoo, you're going to be touched. There's just no other way around it. You're going to be touched. Same thing for a massage therapist. Massage therapist, maybe you'll wear a mask, but you're going to be touching a client. And clients, guess what? You're going to be touched. There's just no other way around this. In some of these businesses, you're going to have human contact, and that's where I think that these type of businesses are going to have to highlight what they're doing as far as sanitation goes. I talked to one owner of a salon who said, "Listen, we're going to wipe down every single chair before and after a person sits down. We're going to do away with like the razors on the back of the neck. We're not going to use those. We can even do away with the rinsing out of hair if people want to minimize the amount of touching goes on." And they said we have no problem wearing gloves, wearing masks if it comes to that. Businesses are already taking steps to show one, they're invested in people's health, and two, to get the economy restarted. We should trust our business owners here in Lubbock, and I think that we can. Now, the final part of my plan here, plan number 2, that the city of Lubbock probably didn't ask for, but I still put this out here, and it's the government part. That's right. That's right, government. I'm not going to leave you out. Since we're all in this together, it seems only fitting that government should have a part in this plan. And one of my ideas towards government is this. Governor Abbott, Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, Speaker Dennis Bonnen, and state legislature, I think this is a great idea. What we should do, once everything is back open, retail's back open, we have foot traffic going through our stores, Governor Greg Abbott should declare a sales tax holiday on all consumer goods for about a 1 to 2 or 3 week period, however long he wants to, but at least for a week. That way people can social distance and still go to the stores. For at least a week or two, people should be able to buy goods with no tax. No sales tax at all. And this can be on all consumer goods. It would encourage spending, and it would help our small businesses throughout the great state of Texas as people would go into the stores and start purchasing things. It's a great idea. And Governor Abbott, I think you should absolutely consider it. The governor should also resist the urge to bring back many of the restrictions and regulations that his office was so easily able to dismiss during this coronavirus outbreaks. For example, allowing restaurants to continue to deliver and do curbside alcohol to go. The city of Lubbock should suspend all unnecessary project spending and put on a hiring freeze. The city should also begin looking at the budget and where they can save money. That means deep cuts in the city of Lubbock budget. Market, Lubbock, and Lita should immediately suspend their grant program for downtown businesses and instead redo that grant program to create a loan program for businesses throughout the entire city of Lubbock. So again, Lita, Market, Lubbock, you've handed out all this money for downtown beautification of businesses. It's time to do away with that. The focus cannot be on downtown Lubbock anymore. It has to be on the city of Lubbock and the economic damage we have seen throughout the entire city. And that means either loans or grants in the pool of money that you have available to small businesses. And I truly mean small businesses in Lubbock. Now, how do we I guess, add more money to that pool that is out there? Well, I have an idea on that, and that is to take some of the highest paid employees within the city of Lubbock. You look at the city manager, makes over $300,000 a year. This is not punishment. We're all in this together, folks. And I think what should happen is the highest paid employees, not including the Lubbock Police, EMS, or fire, not our first responders, but the highest paid employees in the city of Lubbock should voluntarily take a pay cut, at least this year, maybe even next year, and put that money either into the general pool of money for the budget of Lubbock or to go towards small businesses in Lubbock. Again, we've had some great CEOs throughout the country. I think of the CEO for Texas Roadhouse who said, hey, I'm not going to take pay so I can keep my employees on board. City of Lubbock should look at doing the same thing. Make it voluntary. Celebrate the highest paid employees who take a pay cut, however much that is. I'll leave that up to the Lubbock City Council and put that money back into the community. I think it would do a lot of good. The city of Lubbock should also continue and increase testing in Lubbock, Texas, and strive to get the antibody testing in Lubbock as well. Work with your state reps, work with Congressman Jody Arrington, work with Texas Tech to get that going. The city should also continue to be transparent about the amount of cases that we're seeing in Lubbock and how those cases are broken down. And Lubbock should also dismiss any citations given out to businesses during this crisis. If a business were to open and the fire marshal's office showed up and shut them down, those citations should be dismissed by the city of Lubbock. And finally, the city of Lubbock, at the end of the day, should get out of the way of the free market and get out of the way of businesses just trying to make it in this city. It is time to reopen Lubbock, Texas. We can do it. I just laid out some ideas in this plan of how we can do it and keep people safe. Again, get out of the way, continue to do testing, follow the phases laid out by President Trump, and reopen, not in phases, but all at once, and allow the economy to work in our great city. Tune in to the Chad Hasty Show weekday mornings, 8:30 to 11 a.m. Central Time on News Talk 95.1 FM and 790 AM KFYO. Have a great day.